What is going on, everybody? My name is Sutton Def, and you are listening to Sutton Reactions, a reaction show where I pretty much give you my natural, raw response to any and everything on the internet, anything viral, anything pop culture, music, sports, entertainment, pretty much anything other than my usual, what I'm known for, my Baltimore Ravens talk. On the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, we are no longer streaming. If you're watching right now, welcome in, welcome in. You are officially part of the actual Sutton Reactions family here. This is the first episode. This is the first episode that we've streamed exclusively on this channel. And I put out a little post on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. So hopefully whoever's maybe looking for the show over there right about now can find and they can pop their way over here. But if you are in here, please make sure you like the video and please let me know. Please, please, please let me know that you're in the chat. I got to know if you're in the chat because, again, this is my first episode streaming over here exclusively on this platform. So I want to know who's kind of the pioneers, right? Who are the pioneers of this one? I see Stretch 52 breaking the ice here, says good morning, top of the morning to you, sir. Appreciate you for coming through. Hope you're doing well this morning. Like I said, sound off in the chat for me if you are here. We got a lot to get into. We got a jam-packed episode today, much like yesterday. Much like yesterday. We actually went for about 2 hours yesterday, and there was no dull moments. I can definitely say that. We got some good stuff. We got some good stuff for you here today on Sutton Reactions. Let me see who else we got in here. We got Attitude Pop in the house. Attitude Pop starting off heavy here. I know the title of the video. We're going to get into Mr. Harbaugh. He says, how many blown leads you think he's going to blow with the Giants? Remember, Giants had a blowing leads problem this past season, and they hire a coach who is famous. I'm not even just going to say known for it. He is famous for that. Attitude Pop. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But, honestly, with that being said, yeah, you guys keep putting your comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Herb, I see you in the chat. What up, brother? Top of the morning to you. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into these reactions, shall we? All right, all right, all right. So, like I said, we're gonna hop right into it with this John Harbaugh news that I've been predicting for the past about a week now, a little over a week, ever since John Harbaugh got fired and word came out that, he was taking so many calls, 7 calls literally like an hour after he got fired, right? I was just thinking the whole entire time, Giants, 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 Giants. It's got to be the Giants, right? Lo and behold, last night, Mr. Adam Schefter posted on his Twitter saying that the new foundation of the New York Giants is set, and you can see it right there. Now that graphic with John Harbaugh rocking the Giants cap, the blue shirt, it hits different. It hits a little bit different. I gotta admit to you. Coach, Sip to Tally Films is in the house. What's going on, Coach? Appreciate you for coming over to this channel and checking us out here. We appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who's watching right now. Let me see. So, again, man, John Harbaugh finalized an agreement to become the Giants' next head coach, and I have the details right here. Let me go ahead and pull those up and read them off to you guys because he's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in the league. Again, let me see. John Harbaugh's deal. So it's a 5-year deal. I think they said, I saw somewhere it was 100 million. John Harbaugh's deal to become the head coach of the Giants is for 5 years and worth nearly $100 million. And that was per Jordan Schultz from the Schultz Report. Shout out to him. So, yeah, he's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in the league. And guess what? Like I saw somebody say in the chat, Todd Monken's going right with him. Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I love it. I love it for John Harbaugh. Mainly because he's going to be out of the way in the NFC. We can kind of monitor him from afar next season. We were going to be monitoring the Giants from afar anyway with a healthy Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter, of course, Brian Burns on that defense, Dexter Lawrence. They got some pieces over there, right? So I think that everybody kind of had their eyes out, looking out just to see what the Giants are going to do. But with John Harbaugh, a known floor raiser, right? A known floor raiser, much like Mike Tomlin in a lot of ways. He is going to raise the floor for this team. Now, first order of business, if I'm John Harbaugh and Todd Monken, who's going to be calling plays on the offense, Hey, you Jackson, Cam, you're not battering rams. Okay, you are franchise quarterbacks and running backs respectively. Either get out of bounds. Cam, I understand you're running back. You know what I'm saying? You have to put your body on the line. Lower that shoulder. You know, have that tenacity, but you got to protect yourself. Don't use your helmet as a weapon. It's illegal, for one thing. But it will get you tossed out of the league, you know, not on your own volition. Because you'll be hurt all the time. All the time. And it's ironic that the injury that he sustained this past season was his ankle, right? It was an ankle injury. And this was after everybody was saying, "Oh yeah, he's gonna have a concussion after so much time getting hit." But he's got to John Harbaugh. He's got to coach that out of them boys. The whole frat boy, style of play is cool. It's cool and all, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Ashley, good morning. Thank you for coming through to this side. Do it look like I care? 27 says, man, if he doesn't bring Orr with him on his defensive staff, I'm going to feel a type of way. But why though? Why though? Why would you feel a type of way if he didn't bring Orr? Because he did say he wanted to just run it back with the Ravens with Monken and Orr, right? So maybe that's why you feel that way. In which case, I understand. In which case, I totally understand. But man, isn't this just a little bit bittersweet, guys? It's a little bit bittersweet. You know, I want the best for him. Like I said yesterday on the show on Quiet Storm Sports, I think that he can win at least 2 out of the next 5 years. So it's a 5-year deal. I think he can win the NFC East division at least 2 of those years. The Commanders, who we're going to talk about in a second, the Commanders, you just don't know what you're getting with them as of right now. I think that they're still a couple of pieces away. I think that honestly, the New York Giants have the better roster than the Commanders. And now that the Giants have the coach to go with the roster, I could see them surpassing the Commanders in the next year or two. The Cowboys, John Harbaugh's never really had too much of an issue with the Cowboys dealing with them. With a young quarterback and a young running back and just a young nucleus overall, Malik Neighbors even, I know that those guys, those young guys are going to buy into John Harbaugh's message. They're going to buy right into it. And he's going to have those guys playing well, defense as well. And it'll be interesting to see who he picks as his defensive coordinator. But he's going to have those guys playing really, really well. I truly do believe that. I think that the Giants are a tight end away. I think they need to go out and get a tight end. I like Theo Johnson, but they need a more, playmaker at tight end and more consistent. But outside of that, the Cowboys, they'll probably end up splitting with the Cowboys most of the seasons, and then the Eagles, I think we might be in turn to see some classic Giants versus Eagles games in the next couple of years. You know, Harbaugh normally is able to keep it close, or at least with the Ravens, he was able to keep it close when he played the Eagles. Was able to knock them off a few times. I do think that, again, with where the Eagles are right now, they're kind of in a weird spot, right? They got bounced out of the playoffs in the first round after winning the Super Bowl last year. They didn't look good at all. They got turmoil on the offense. How long is Saquon Barkley going to be around? A.J. Brown obviously getting shipped out of town this offseason. Jalen Hurts, he's good, but he's proven to not be great, especially not in the regular season so much. So the Giants have a window, is what I'm saying here. With Harbaugh at coach, the New York Giants absolutely have a window. Zach, what up? I see you. Chris, what's up, Chris? Thank y'all for coming through. Taurus, I see you, Taurus. Taurus says not long before they crash out on Harb. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If John Harbaugh thought that the Baltimore media was a nuisance, wait till you see New York. The Big Apple is a whole different story. Number one, not many people know this, but radio, the medium, it is still very, very prominent in New York City, more so than any other major city or any city for that matter in the United States. And hundreds of thousands of people tune into that morning radio in New York. And if you find yourself, John Harbaugh, blowing leads like you are famous to do, they are going to rip your ass to shreds every single morning. The stadium polls just got turned up for John Harbaugh. There's going to be arguably more pressure on him as a New York Giant than there was as a Baltimore Raven at head coach. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think there would be more pressure for John Harbaugh with the Giants to get it done just because huge market, right? A lot of expectations, right? You were the highest, touted free agent coach this offseason. They're going to be expecting something from you, as opposed to with the Ravens. I mean, the media just kind of chalked it up to the Ravens, just Lamar Jackson making mistakes, being hurt, you know, the defense, anything. Only people within the castle knew that Harbaugh needed to go. Everybody else thought it was just the team. So I think that there's going to be a lot bigger of a spotlight on John Harbaugh in New York. Let me see what y'all got to say about that. Torres says should have took that vacay. I honestly would have took the vacay too. Shit, I get it. Harbaugh's not getting any younger, and I think he's 63 right now. I want to say if he would have taken a year off, he'd come back, around 65. It's not too bad. And you go from 65, you coach from 65 to 70 with whoever. But I think that he really, really was intrigued by that Giants job. I think the moment that Steve Bisciotti, fired John Harbaugh over the phone, I think John Harbaugh already knew and had in his mind where he was going next. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I guess, like when your girlfriend breaks up with you, but like you already know you're going to the next girl or whatever. That happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. The Giants were his rebound. They were his rebound. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. He didn't have a healing process, didn't spend no time with his family. Like Steve Bisciotti told us, he's an empty nester, so all his kids are off at college, so he can just really, him and his wife can just enjoy life for a full year. For a full year, something that they have not been able to do, I would assume at least, with football and all that stuff going on for the last 18 years. But I got to give my kudos to Harbaugh, falling off the horse and getting right back on, declining the vacation. It's commendable. I respect John Harbaugh. I do. But it's going to be tough sledding for him. It's going to be very, very tough sledding for him. King Ravens, what's up? Good morning. Good morning. Chris M says he must really not like his wife. Now that's crazy. Because I just know if it were me, I'd be like, you gonna pay me? You gonna pay me how much, Steve? You gonna pay me 17 mil to sit on my ass at home, just me and my wife, and go travel and enjoy life? Hell yeah, I'm gonna take that. Sign me up. But I don't want to put that on him. I don't want to put that assumption that he doesn't like his wife, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Torres says it was 21 mil. I thought it was 17. I heard 17 somewhere, but 17, 21, they're in the same stratosphere. They're in the same stratosphere. Either way, I'd have taken up that offer in a heartbeat. Says, would he have access to the private jet? Yeah. Doubtful. PJs are expensive, man. They're super expensive. Super expensive. Now, for a billionaire like Steve Bisciotti, probably could manage, but I don't think that he would just be offering like, hey, yeah, just take my private jet anywhere, John. But I don't know. But again, salute to John Harbaugh. Congrats to John Harbaugh. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I'll miss him. Not in the sense of like him coaching this team and like being like the leader of this team, but like, you know, it's just gonna be different on Sundays. It's just gonna be different on Sundays, and that's okay. But it is a little bit bittersweet seeing him in this Giants hat, man. It is. It is. All right, let's move on here. Like I said, I want to talk about the and Todd Monken. Wishing the best for him as well. Wishing the best for Todd Monken. But I want to talk about the Commanders Stadium. They dropped some renders of the Commanders' new stadium, and I want to get you guys' opinions on it, and I want to react to it with you guys live here in person. Let me say this: whoever the architect is for this establishment, I think they deserve an award because this stadium is absolutely beautifully designed. Beautifully designed. Out of 10, what would you rate it? 1 out of 10, what would you rate the new Commanders Stadium? These are the renders. What would you rate this? During the day, little aerial view from top. This is fire. This is fire. Commander Stadium, Taurus. You said, nah, that's some BS. Oh, nah. Nah, you tripping. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason why it's so genius is because, I mean, well, I don't know if RFK is lined up with the Capitol and Monument quite like that. I mean, that would be dope if it was. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that would be dope. You know, if it was exactly like this. I know this is like AI generated and everything like that, but this is exactly how the stadium's supposed to look. I don't know if the placement will look quite the same. But here's the thing. This is supposed to be the stadium that represents the Washington team. Now I know it's in Washington D.C. now. It's no longer in Maryland, no longer in Landover. It's in Washington D.C. You cannot tell me that this stadium design does not look like the White House. And if you do see that and you don't think it's dope, you got to get your eyes checked, man. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. If you see it from the side right here, you can really tell. Like it low key kind of looks like SoFi out in LA, but it has kind of um like that DC government building kind of like style to it. That style of architecture to it. You know, with the pillars and everything. It looks like the White House from the outside. I love that. It's very on brand, perfectly themed. Of course, haven't seen the inside or anything like that. But it is a very nice skyline view. Stretch. I agree. I agree. It will be lined up to the national monument like that. That's dope. That is dope. I give it a solid I give it a solid 9, to be honest with you. Only reason I knock it and don't give it a 10 because I mean, I feel like there could be it feels like it's missing something. And again, I haven't seen the inside of it yet. So as a matter of fact, I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8 for now. Yeah, I'll give it an 8 for now because I can't quite see the inside of it. And I would want to see what type of creativity they have going on for the inside as well. I think there was a dome on it as well. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah. And it's domed? Yeah. Yep. And it's supposed to be ready by I think when did they say? Like 2028 or 2030? One of the two? One of the two? Something like that. Chris says traffic is already terrible in DC. It's about to be atrocious. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Ismodius says M&T Bank Stadium is still on the upper tier. Have you been to Orchard Park? Last time I was at Orchard Park was probably like 2 years ago. Probably about 2 years ago for a nose game. Yeah, that stadium's not the best, but it's not terrible. M&T is cool. It could be updated though. You know, they put the end zone screens and a couple of other things. They got some premium seating, and then they got the VIP lounge and everything like that now. But it still could be a little bit more modernized. It could, that stadium. But I love the bank though. Always will. Always will. Always will. Stretch 52 says they're trying to host a Super Bowl. You know, I I agree, but people have always told me for one reason or another that you can't host the Super Bowl in DC. Because logistically it just wouldn't make the most sense. Like you need a certain amount of like hotels within a certain, you know, distance of the stadium. You need a certain amount of this and that, and of course security, with the White House being literally right there, like right next door, damn near. You know, it's just a lot. This is the nation's capital we're talking about, right? This isn't Vegas or, you know, New Orleans. This is the nation's capital, like the president's backyard. Regardless of whoever the president is at this point, you know, whenever this stadium is built, I just don't think that I don't think that the U.S. government will be letting it rock to have a Super Bowl hosted here. It would be dope. It would be dope for sure. And I can only imagine how they could design it, the outside of this, because you know the outside of the stadium looks like a blank canvas. So if you did host a Super Bowl here, you could design it for the theme of the Super Bowl. That would be extremely dope. But I think logistically, they can't get it done. At least that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into some other reactions. Again, make sure you guys like the video. Shout out to y'all for coming through to this episode of Sutton Reactions. This is episode 18, I believe. Episode 18, I believe. Let me see, get you off of the screen here. All right, all right, all right, all right. So, much like yesterday, we're going to start off with some more of these liminal horror scenarios, right? We had a lot of fun with that yesterday. I want to take it a step further today. This one is going to be either you're choosing left or right. And what I want you guys to do in the chat is basically you're going to be on teams. You're going to choose either left or right beforehand. One of them is going to be probably a near death scenario. The other one, you'll probably be safe. So you got to choose wisely, right? And I'll give y'all some time to choose in the chat. So here we go. Here's the first one.
Choose a path, left or right.
All right. All right, chat. You heard it. Choose a path, left or right. Choose left or right. Don't die. Left or right. I see right. It says Asmodeus. Give y'all a second to get that in there. Again, like the video, subscribe. This is Sutton Reactions, episode 18. First episode on the Sutton Reactions channel. I think I'm gonna go right. I haven't seen this one. All right, so I see Asmodeus says right, Taurus says right, Zach says left, King Raven says right, Stretch says right. Okay, Zach is the only one on the left. We're gonna leave Zach isolated. 75 people watching live. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Left or right. I'm about to spin it. We locking in these answers. I'm gonna go right. I'm gonna go right on this one. Could very well be wrong, but I'm gonna go right. All right, here we go. I'm gonna spin it. Chris says she's gonna go left with Zach. Here we go. All right, here we go. On the left.
This video was brought to you by Gizmo AI.
Advertisement.
Study smarter, not harder.
That's
Enjoy the video. If you choose the left path, your place is a passenger ferry that never docks. Rows of empty seats face wide windows looking out over an endless ocean under a gray sky. The engines hum softly, steady, and reliable. Food is available from vending machines that refill overnight. The bathrooms work. You can sleep in any seat you choose. Nothing on the water ever gets closer, and nothing ever passes you. Every 12 hours, a calm voice announces that arrival is delayed. You are safe here as long as you don't try to open any doors marked crew only. If you choose
Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad.
the right
Relatively
path,
safe.
your
All right, on
place
the
is
right.
an enormous outdoor parking lot lit by tall floodlights that never turn off. The asphalt is warm, even at night. There are no cars, but the painted lines are perfectly fresh. You can rest on the ground without getting cold. There is no food and no water. At random intervals, a distant car alarm begins to sound somewhere in the lot. When it
Oh,
does,
see?
something
See?
starts.
Bro. See? All of us on the right dead. All of us on the right dead. Yeah, see, cause look, bro.
Walking between the rows, staying just outside the light. It stops moving when the alarm stops.
Taurus, you talking about no food or water? Do you see this motherfucker? Like, we got bigger fish to fry, bro.
Do not be standing when the sound ends.
Bro. It was either that, an abandoned parking lot, where there's a supernatural creature that is coming after me. I have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, no food, no drink. Bruh. Meanwhile, everybody who picked the left, so Chris and Zach, everybody who picked the left, perfectly fine. I just want to see the left video one more time.
If you choose the left path, your place is a passenger ferry that never docks. Rows of empty seats face wide windows looking out over an endless ocean under a gray sky. The engines hum softly, steady, and reliable.
This is a
Food is
vibe.
available from vending machines that refill overnight. The bathrooms work. You can sleep in any seat you choose. Nothing on the water ever gets closer, and nothing ever passes you. Every 12 hours, a calm voice announces that arrival is delayed. You are safe here as long as you don't try to open any doors marked crew.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the only kicker right there. That's the only kicker for y'all on the left. If you open that door that says crew only, which eventually, if Murphy's Law holds true, what could go wrong will go wrong eventually. At least I think that's Murphy's. You're eventually going to open that door. You're going to get tired. Your brain is going to be mentally exhausted by just looking at nothing but just endless seawater. And the snack, they do have food. There was like a whole vending machine that apparently gets magically restocked overnight. So I don't know if the crew is coming out and restocking the vending machine while you sleep. I'd probably still pick the door on the left, though. I'd probably still go with the door on the left. But yeah, I go with the door on the left. All right, that was a good one. That was a good one. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Zach for getting that one right. And as Modia says, you already know someone's going to open the door to see if they can figure out why you're in a time loop. Exactly. And when you open that door, you don't know what's behind it. At least with us in the parking lot, we know that there's something out there, right? We can try to get around it. You know what I mean? We can get eyes on it. This, like, there could be death behind that door. You just never know. It could be death right behind that door, just waiting for you. But yeah, shout out to Chris. Shout out to Zach. They're the only ones who got it right. They picked the left. They picked the living scenario. So let's move on to the next one. All right. So let's see. Here we go.
Pick a door. Keep in mind that you cannot change your mind once you make your selection. The door that...
All right. It's a pick a door. Red, green, or blue. Throw it in the chat.
The door that you pick will determine where you will live for a month.
All right. So whichever door you pick determines where you're going to live for 30 days. Put it in the chat. Red, green, or blue. Okay. I'm going to go. Jeez, man. I'm going to go with the reverse psychology and go with the red door. Because I feel like red door is supposed to mean the worst of the worst. And I feel like this video is trying to fool me into picking green or blue since those colors are easier on the eyes, right? It's a psychological thing, right? You gotta think about it. I'm gonna go with the red door though. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Let me see what y'all are saying. Let me see. Green, green, blue, red, red, green, blue. Okay, so it's kind of even. It's kind of even. Our winners from last time, Zach says green, Chris says red. All right, all right. So who's rocking with me on the red doors? Modius is rocking with me on the red. Chris is rocking with me on the red. Let me see who else. That's it right now. That's it right now. She said Sutton doesn't pick well. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. I haven't seen this one again. I promise y'all. I promise. I haven't seen this one. These videos, they come on my TikTok. As soon as I scroll up to them, I download it and I get out of there so I can react to it live with y'all. So I promise I haven't seen it. But yeah, I'm going red. I'm going red. Stand by my answer. All right. Cool, 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 cool. Let's see. Taurus and Zach say green. Who else said green? All right, that was it. And then King Ravens and Stretch said blue. All right, so kind of even. Kind of even. We got our teams here. Let's see. Let's see what we got.
You have 5 seconds to make and finalize your decision.
Team red, baby. Team red. What we got in the red door?
Red door, the Hydro Wing.
Okay.
This is an indoor water park that is filled with bottomless pools, water slides, and white tiled walls and floors. All you will hear is the rushing water, accompanied by the strong smell of chlorine in this place. Although there isn't anywhere comfortable to sleep, you won't have trouble finding food here, even though it will be risky to acquire. Upon entering the Hydro Wing, you will be faced with a choice between a random number of water slide entrances. The water slide you choose will be crucial to your survival. One of the slides will always contain an entity known as a slide dweller, a creature.
Bruh. A slide dweller. This went from not being scary at all to being absolutely terrifying. This dude is saying, if you get hungry, you got to pick one of these slides to get food, and one of them has a monster waiting in the slide for whoever. Oh.
That sits and waits in the slides for anyone to pass through. If you make the right choice, you will be granted some food upon exiting the slide. But if you get hungry, you'll have to make another choice.
Bro, that is crazy. A slide dweller, slide dweller, the hash slinging, bro. And that's every time you get hungry. That's every time you get hungry. And this is for 30 days. You have to live here for 30 days. There's no place to sleep comfortably. The place smells like it reeks of chlorine. And the only way to get food, is to pick between two slides. You pick the right slide to slide down, there's a meal waiting for you on the other side. But if you pick the wrong slide, there's a damn monster in the slide who's going to scoop you up. Yeah, it's giving like, honestly, I don't know about my pick anymore. Lord, man, Lord. I can't, man. I can't. If you fast for half the time, you may be all right. See, I think the strategy would be try to guess right a couple times, maybe like twice, and just like really like ration that meal. Like I'm only eating like a couple of French fries at a time. I'm taking my time with that burger. I'm going to make it last the entire day. I'll probably take one risk every other day, right? But that's 15 times going down the slide. Still, God, like that's impossible. That's like hitting a 15-leg parlay. Doesn't happen. A 15-leg parlay of 50-50 odds on each leg doesn't happen. Sounds like death. But all right, let's move on. Green door.
Green door, the haven. This is a vast open field that contains one small house in the center. You are completely safe here. Food and water is abundant and stays fresh throughout your entire stay. A full month here won't be a problem for most, unless you have a fear of being watched. No matter where you go in the Haven, you will always be stalked by the locals, a group of humanoid entities that do not speak, only watch you. With wide, uncanny grins on their faces, they are harmless, but they will not leave you alone.
Who picked green? Who picked green? Because you just got lucky again. Damn, Zach picked green. Zach is 2 for 2, man. I don't know what's behind the blue door yet, but that green door was mild. That green door was mild. All you got to do is just sit in that little prairie house. There's food in there. You got everything you need. But there's like some creepy people. The Addams family is standing 20 yards away, just staring at you through the kitchen window. They're not harmless though. They won't hurt you. They just stare and smile. It's creepy. It might drive you crazy, but if you know that they can't harm you, that's sounding like the best door. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. But we got to see what the blue door has. See what the blue door has. So far, I think Zach is in the lead. Who else picked green? Torres picked green. Torres said, "Yes, sir." Once he realized this one was sweet. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Y'all looking good so far. Y'all looking good so far. Who put the blue? Stretch 52 said blue. Who else said blue? And then King Ravens said blue as well. All right, so y'all up next. Let's see. All right.
Blue door, the Galleria. This is a vast, abandoned, multi-level mall that seems like any other. Upon entering this place, you would immediately hear a static hum that will remove your memory as to why you are there in the first place. The food here is mostly rotten and scarce, and the only source of water you'll find will be from the faucets in the filthy bathrooms that litter the mall. At night, an entity known as the Grafted One will walk through the halls. It is a 7-foot mannequin that has human eyes and other bits of its past victims attached onto its plastic shell. You will hear the heavy metal and plastic thumps as it passes through the Galleria. Every hour from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., a PA announcement will be made, revealing your location to the entity. So you'll have to swap hiding spots fast.
Oh, yeah. Cooked. Can you imagine? You're in an abandoned mall. And again, you got to stay here for 30 days. An abandoned mall, and there's a creature called the Grafter. One of those humanoid entities, like supernatural, who's looking for you from the hours of 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. And every hour in that time frame, at the top of the hour, your location gets revealed to him. So he knows exactly where you are. So you got to run and pick another hiding spot before he gets to you. Or you got to sneak because, I mean, he going, oh my Lord, that might be the worst one. That's probably the worst one because you don't even have a bunch of food available to you. You don't even have a bunch of, they said most of the food is rotten and the only place you can get water is from the filthy bathroom sinks. Nah, that's probably the worst door. So, you know what that means? Green team wins. Taurus and Zach is our champion today. He went 2 for 2. He got both of them right. That's actually very impressive. Shout out to you, Zach. Big applause for you. Yeah. And I guess we would have Taurus and Chris tied for second place as well. Shout out to y'all as well. That was a lot of fun. I like those. Those are fun. All right. Let me see. Yeah, we're cooked. Got to take me out at that point. As Modi says, yes, there's lore behind this, except you're trapped in a different dimension. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a story that I've read or heard about before, or a movie that I would love to watch. Chris says, gotta go. I'll watch the rest later. add my picks to whatever Richard and Zach picked by see you, Chris. Thank you so much for coming through. We actually finished it up. So you got second place. You got second place on the day. We'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow, though. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If you're enjoying the content, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel as well here at Sutton Reactions. This is our first exclusive episode over here on this channel, so it would mean a ton to me. It would mean a whole lot to me if you just took a second to like the video. And if you're watching on X, shout out to you. But maybe head over to YouTube and join the discussion, join the fun. As you see, we're having a great time here. And subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's move along here. Let's move along here. We can start off with some lighthearted stuff. So my girl had sent me this the other day and wanted to know if I could replicate the same thing. So this guy has this pulley for groceries for like third floor apartments. And I happen to live on the third floor of an apartment. And she sent me this and I'm just like, okay, like I can be lazy sometimes, but I ain't that lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't that lazy. Like I can, and honestly, while this may seem smart and efficient, things could go very, very wrong. They could go very, very wrong. You know, if the basket hits the side of the railing and then something falls out like some milk or God forbid some eggs or something like that, now it's spilled all over the ground and God forbid again it gets knocked over into your neighbor's balcony beneath you. Then what? Right? All this so you don't have to walk downstairs, get the groceries, and walk upstairs. And you know, I honestly like going down and getting the groceries from the car and walking up a couple flights of steps. It builds character for one. And number two, it builds your quads. Okay? I don't know how many of you guys are in the gym, how many of you guys work out, or just try to stay in shape overall. But if you got some steps and you got some groceries to carry up them steps, walk up them steps, right? It's good for you. Trust me, it's good for you. King Raven says that's not lazy. It kind of is though. Kind of is. I mean, it's inventive. I'll give him that. It's inventive, you know, and it's cool to like catch on camera. But like, it would be a lot easier. What happened to going out to the car and loading up both hands and making one trip back to the house? What happened to that? We're losing recipes as a country. We are. This is some Gen Z / Gen Alpha type of shit. As Modia says, I lived on the top floor of a 4-story apartment with no elevator for years. And did you do something like this, Asmodeus? Or did you go and get the groceries and bring them upstairs? You know? And shoot, 4 stories. That's even worse. That's even worse. I just want to know, like, what type of rope is that? Because what happens when we got to carry up a case of water? Right? What happens when we gotta carry up a couple cases of soda? Or, you know, whatever else is heavy. I mean, I guess he's getting a workout low key. It's low key a shoulder workout and a core workout doing what he's doing. But you get all the above. Shoulders work, you get core work. Hell, you even get a little bit of chest work by compound. By basically taking those groceries, putting them all in your hands, and walking up them steps. You're working a whole lot of muscles. So yeah, it is a workout stretch, but not as much of a workout as if you actually go down there and get them yourself. Again, we're losing recipes. We're losing recipes, guys. All right. Asmodeus says, should I brought my damn couch and bed up without this? See? That's my guy Asmodeus. That's my guy Asmodeus, man. Superhero. Asmodeus. I got to make you a mod in this chat on this channel. Haven't done that yet. Got to get some mods for this channel. That's going to be important as we continue on this journey together. All right. Let's get into some more quick hitters here. For my football fans, I saw an interesting take online earlier today about why this guy thinks that quarterbacks, their passing yards should not include yards after the catch. Let's take a listen.
I don't think quarterbacks should get the yards for yak.
Okay.
Well,
Did I
we
say that
track
right?
that now, air yards and
Yeah, I just don't think quarterbacks should get those yards. It doesn't make it makes no sense.
That's receiving yards.
I think the receiver ran the route to get those yards. He gets all the yards, and then he gets yak as well. But quarterback, as soon as he catches it, those are no longer your yards. How are you responsible for those yards? Why is that on your stats? That makes no sense.
What about the receiver doesn't get credit for the yards that the ball traveled through the air? That was the quarterback that did that.
He had to run those routes. That was if it's a 10-yard route, he had to run 10 yards. He absolutely should get those yards. He's the one running the yard.
Well, you can run a lot of yards and not get the ball. Do you get credit for that?
No,
Same
you
thing.
you need the ball. No, it's not the same thing. You get the ball. If you run a good route, you should get credit for running the route. If you throw a good ball, you should get credit for throwing a ball. You should not get credit for any yards after the catch. Why? Why if I throw a hitch and a receiver dookie on a DB, he goes 60 to the house. Why does the quarterback get 60 yards?
He's low key right though. Taurus, you say he tripping, but I think he's got a point. He's got a point. Like you see all the time, quarterbacks throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage to a running back, and the running back will go for like 60 or 70 yards, and all of that gets counted towards the quarterback's passing yards. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I think that this guy is right. I think that the reason why they do it the way they do and kind of give the quarterbacks the yardage that the receivers pick up after the catch is because the higher the number for, if we just counted air yards as passing yards for quarterbacks, quarterback stats would not look as good, right? The higher the number, the better. Like literally, that's all it is. We wouldn't be able to say guys have 4,000 and 5,000 passing yard seasons anymore. We like those high numbers. Those type of stats drive, engagement to the NFL. They put eyes on the sport. He threw for 500 yards when, 200 of those yards were his running back by committee or on wide receiver screens, catching the ball out of the backfield or bubble screens, things like that, and then just taking it up the field on their own. I agree. I think he has some more to say though.
What? Makes no sense.
What if you're like backed up on your own 5-yard line, you run a good route, and then you catch the ball in stride at like your own 30, and then you just keep going, like a perfect pass from the quarterback. You would not have been able to run the rest of those yards if it wasn't for the perfect pass.
So he's talking about quarterbacks throwing the receiver open. And it's like that's a decent point, but it still doesn't make it there for me to change my mind on this one. Again, I think the only reason why they count this is so the stats can look better.
Yeah, because you need the ball.
So you're saying that both the quarterback and the receiver get credit for the air yards of the pass?
Yes, because the receiver is the one running the route. You should not get the credit for the pain that other people go through, the wear and tear that other people go through. Why? I have not heard of a convincing argument. Why?
You would love advanced stats. You're an advanced stats guy. We have all this.
It's not official stats though.
Yeah, I mean they're never going to change those, even because then it makes it hard to compare.
I'm just making the case that they should, like with a quarterback throwing for 300 yards. Not really.
Yeah, but I mean, we have all this. Like if there's a quarterback who checks it down all the time, and the say it was, I don't know it, but say it was Purdy and McCaffrey, he just dumps it down every time McCaffrey makes great plays. Like we would know that because we have all air yards and all that stuff.
I think it's more so the fact that it's a passing play, so everything that happens from a passing play counts as a pass yard.
Interesting. It's an interesting conversation to me, at least. I see you guys are picking it apart here in the chat. Let me see what y'all are saying. Asmodeus says if the quarterback gets the ball in such a way that the wide receiver is actually able to make yards after the catch, it's a joint effort. I can understand. I can understand this because with the logic that I'm using, or that this guy in the video is using, then passing touchdowns would only count if the quarterback threw the ball in the end zone, right? You know, because anything after the catch would be totally for the receiver. So that's where kind of like it gets tricky in the double standard and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But on the surface, it does seem like a lot of quarterbacks are yak merchants. And like they said in this video, air yards is not an official stat. It's an advanced stat. All we see is passing yards at the end of the day. And sometimes it can be misleading because, you know, I take Shador Sanders, for example. I think it was in his second game as a starter. I think they were playing the Raiders. He throws in the backfield, so I want to say it was Dylan Sampson. And he throws it like 5 yards in the backfield. And Dylan Sampson just takes it for 70 yards, right? And that massively inflated Shador Sanders' passing yards for that game. And the media kind of just took it and ran with it like, oh, yeah, I mean, did you see he put up 300 yards? And it's like, well, you know, there's some context behind that. So it's like I get what these guys are saying, or what the the black guy in this video was saying, but at the same time, it's just there would be some issues. But I think that the main reason why it is the way it is, is because they want those stats to look really good. Torres says, if I made you a cup of coffee and you drank it, are you going to say you made the coffee or just drank it? I don't know if that I don't know if that quite correlates though. I don't know if that quite correlates. You know what I mean? Because there's like production before and after a catch, right? There's production of throwing the ball to the receiver, and then once the ball changes hands, the receiver then has to produce himself to get yak or get in the end zone. If you make me a coffee, you're producing the coffee, but I'm not producing anything with that coffee. I'm just consuming it. So I think that's a little bit apples to oranges. But I see what you're trying to say here, Torres. But I think it's just a little bit off. It's a symbiotic relationship, and I can agree with that when it comes to the quarterback and wide receiver, mainly with my touchdown point that I made. So I think it's just an interesting conversation to have because sometimes those passing yard numbers can be a little bit skewed, But let's move on though. Let's move on. What else we got? Let's get into something a little bit serious. Here. So I don't know if you guys are following this story, but lately there's been a lot going on in Minneapolis. We covered it last week on the show with the shooting of Renee Nicole Good from the ICE agent. And kind of broke that down. I gave my opinions, but there's a lot of people going around, self-made journalists, so to speak, going around in Minneapolis and trying to expose fraudulent businesses that are being run under the guise of one thing, but they're actually another. And the main targets on these businesses are Somalians, you know, immigrants who have come to America and they've set up these businesses. And, there's been daycares that they say that are getting government funding, but there's nobody in these daycares. They're just literally collecting the money. There's been transportation services that are supposed to be government funded. And, there's no transportation going on. So there's some fraudulent activity. And there's people going around, again, self-named journalists, and kind of shaking down some of these businesses. Now, here was an altercation between some sort of streamer, some sort of social media guy, right-wing guy who's trying to like crack down on this himself. and do some investigative journalism on what's going on with some of these fraudulent Somalian businesses in Minneapolis. Let's take a listen.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This
fraud.
Absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. When
I go onto your comments,
my comments.
What I see is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the question. Where is the transportation
something
vehicle
that can
company?
jeopardize
Answer the question.
The safety and the protection of the Somali community.
We're talking about fraud, sir.
So, this guy, I think his name is Nick, the white guy with the shades on. He pulled up to this business that is ran by Somalians, I presume, and it was supposed to be a transportation service that is funded by the government, but it's actually like the address that they're doing business out of is a liquor store. And I guess this has gone unnoticed by the government, and they've been kind of like forging fake rides and stuff like that and billing to get the government to continue to send them money. And apparently they've amassed a couple $1 million doing just that. And this guy is here calling it out. Now, whether or not this is right or wrong, I will leave up to you. But I do think that I do think it's very hypocritical for people like this guy Nick to go around and try to expose these guys, but not expose what's really going on in this country. But they're beating up on the little guy pretty good here.
We're talking about fraud.
Listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching
You're
him.
getting very close.
I'm not physically touching him. No, I'm not physically touching him.
This is fraud. We're talking about fraud.
What you're
defending fraud.
You're defending fraud. Comments,
you're defending fraud.
People who hate Muslims
okay,
want us out of here.
People can say what they want.
Muslim,
I'm not censoring anybody.
Are using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about
We're
fraud. We're asking about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate Muslims. We're talking about fraud. We're talking about fraud.
Why are you attacking us?
This
are we
is
the
fraud.
only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about fraud.
Are we the only community that does fraud? Are we the only community?
He's saying, are we the only community that does fraud? Now, like I said, I'll leave it up to you guys on whether or not you think it's right or wrong for them to be doing that. Obviously, it's breaking the law. You know, obviously, it's some shady stuff going on. However, I think it's a little bit hypocritical because this guy who's doing these shakedowns, and I'll just kind of skip through the video here. It gets a little bit heated, right? But the guy who's doing these, walking door to door and trying to crack down on these businesses, he's like a right-wing guy, right? And where I push back on what he's doing here, while yeah, he's calling out these people who are, fraudulently stealing money from the U.S. government, essentially. But what he fails to highlight is the fact that there are so many people on his side of the aisle who do the exact same thing. But the only difference is they're not Somalians, right? They're older white people. And if you don't believe me, listen to this. If we just talk about tax evasion, every year, millionaires and billionaires get away with over $150 billion in tax evasion by circumventing the law, hoarding their money in offshore accounts and things of the like. So this kind of like all for one mentality a lot of people who carry themselves like this, it's disgusting to me because you're not calling out the people who are literally in power in the government. Some politicians, right? You're not calling out the billionaires who, if they literally just played fairly, played by the rules, and paid a fair share amount of taxes, a lot of us wouldn't even be in the situations we're in. And again, if you don't believe me, listen to this guy actually give you real deal examples of people who are stealing money from the US, but they have no sort of repercussion for it. You don't have guys shoving cameras in their face, right? Take a listen.
The right has been screaming for the past few weeks that the left in America won't talk about fraud, about Somali fraud. They're super mad about Somali fraud. Well, let's prove them wrong, shall we? Let's talk about Somali fraud. Give me just 60 seconds. Start the clock. Let's talk about convicted fraudster Trevor Milton, who defrauded his investors, cost them tens of millions of dollars and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Oh wait, he's not Somali and Donald Trump pardoned him last year. Let's talk about convicted fraudster Paul Walsack, who stole over $7 million from his employees' paychecks and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Oh wait, he's not Somali and Donald Trump pardoned him last year. Let's talk about convicted fraudster Michelle Fiore, who took $70,000 meant for a memorial to fallen police officers and spent it on herself, including on cosmetic surgery. Oh wait, she's not Somali and Donald Trump pardoned her last year. Let's talk about Lawrence Duran, who led at the time the largest therapy-related Medicare fraud scheme in history, was sentenced to 50 years in prison in order to pay back $87 million. Oh wait, he's not Somali and Donald Trump commuted his sentence last year. Let's talk about Philip S. Forms, who orchestrated the biggest criminal healthcare fraud, Medicare fraud in American history, over $1 billion in fraudulent claims, and who was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Oh wait, he's not Somali and Donald Trump commuted his sentence back in 2020. Let's talk about David Gentile, who defrauded over 10,000 investors of over $1.6 billion in what was basically a Ponzi scheme and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Oh wait, he's not Somali and Donald Trump pardoned him just last month. So remember, they're so bothered by Somali fraud, not because they're bothered by fraud, their hero keeps pardoning the fraudsters, but because they're bothered by Somalis. And yes, that makes them racists.
So you heard what he said. He gave multiple examples of people who are in power, who have committed fraud, stolen money, embezzled money, and they've been pardoned. They've been let off the hook, and nobody talks about it. It's just on the hush. So basically, like, my biggest problem with these people trying to, number one, get engagement on the internet. I mean, you're going to Minneapolis and trying to seek out these businesses who are committing fraud and exposing them, yet you're not exposing the people in power, right? The people who are actually pulling the strings here. It's just hypocrisy on the highest level to me. And again, it's not that they hate fraud, so to say, because they know what's going on behind closed doors. They know what's going on behind closed doors. They know there's corruption. Hell, the Epstein files are still floating out there. Right? I just feel like some of these guys on the right, and I don't identify as a guy on the right or the left, so to say, but I feel like some of these guys on the right, they are kind of moving like their shit doesn't stink, which bothers me. Kogan says, or let's talk about how Citizens United has ruined politics in this country and allowed corporations to run this country through bribing politicians. Yeah, I mean, it's all a money play. It's all a money play, especially at the top. So why are we coming after the little guy? I mean, this is just these Somalians who are running these businesses. They are a mere microcosm of the issue, of the broader issue in America. The only reason why they're targets is because they don't play for that same team. They're not Republican, right? Some not U.S. citizens, not white. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's hypocrisy, and I hate it. It's disgusting to me. I can't stand it. The dude's walking around in his shades, walking up and down the streets, acting like he hired security. Right? He hired security. That's the guys who were getting between him and the Somalian dude, and he's putting it all on the internet for clicks. You're spreading a message that is the biggest problem in our country. Meanwhile, all of these pardons that this gentleman just talked about, they're getting swept under the rug. Nobody knows their name. but those are people in power. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Let me move on, though. Let me move on. That's probably the most serious topic of the day. Let's get into Ben Affleck talking about why Hollywood itself and Hollywood movies are dying. And let me know if you agree.
Asshole. What do you say to the people that say Hollywood is dead? It's too expensive to make movies out here.
I mean, sadly, there is some truth to that. Like going back to what we kind of talked about initially with like trying to find ways where, you know, because like where I started in this business was like before Good Will Hunting was, you know, in a bunch of very low budget, like $250,000 movie or, you know, $1 million movie, which to me, that seemed like a lot of money. You got to go get $1 million from somebody. And I thought that, like, you know, it shouldn't be that the barrier to entry is so high that, you know, I think there should be, and there are, but it needs to improve, like kind of tiers where you can come in and do something that's, you know, not trying to be a very big commercial movie, trying to take some risks, trying to do some interesting stuff that still can use professional people. I would love for that to be possible, but you know, and part of it's you got people that want to work and you know and that are really willing, especially like here in town. But then you know it can cost more in California. The big thing is that other states or even other countries give these tax breaks. So
Georgia,
then it's like you can't compete with that. You know, so all of a sudden, and then they'll be okay. New Mexico, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Georgia. But then they also disappear. It's kind of whack-a-mole, and everybody's or London, like the UK, gives out. That's why all the superhero movies made in London.
He said the superhero movies are all made in London. So I think what he's getting at here so far is that it's hard to make a movie for a decent price because you don't get a lot of tax breaks where you want to shoot these movies, right? And sometimes you got to go overseas. Sometimes it's just not worth it. But no, this is interesting so far. Let's keep listening.
And you know, I'm sure it's a lot of money in the rebates that they're giving away. And I can't speak to whether or not it's economically viable. I assume they're doing it for a reason, but it's so much money that you just can't compete with it. It's one thing like to say, you know, if you're talking about 5% of the budget, and it's 30-40% of the budget, you're fucked. You know, you have no choice.
Yeah. So I mean, damn, that's literally why Hollywood is dying right now. I mean, he just said, I mean, 30 and 40% of the budget just goes towards, you know, paying to be able to shoot where you want to shoot. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of money for everything else.
And as a consequence, if something's more expensive, people get risk averse, and when they're risk averse, they'll tend to just do the same shit. Like, and that's how you get the safe kind of homogenized stuff. And so it's a vicious cycle.
So directors and producers aren't willing to take risks anymore because you have to fork out hand over fist boatloads of cash, and it's not even a guarantee that you're going to get your return on investment. So that's why you mainly see franchise type movies in the theater, because they're not super risky. Like back in the day, you know, you could see a bunch of movies in theaters that, you know, just were regular movies. They didn't have to be like the Avengers, or it didn't have to be Avatar. It didn't have to be the next big Disney movie. Like it could just be like a one-off movie, like, I don't know, like Dumb and Dumber or Don't Mess with the Zohan. I don't know, just random movies like that, you know, where I feel as though they used to be able to make those movies because they weren't so risky to do. Like you actually had a window to make money off of it. But let's continue to listen to Ben here.
Let me ask the question. So it's just an educated guess from your experience, highest grossing, but to do a movie that you definitely want to hit the theaters, that you definitely want to be seen, what would be the budget for that? Like just a number.
Well, if you were going to make a movie, forget even about like some, you know, you forget about, you know, Dwayne Johnson or some huge star like salary, just to shoot a movie that's, you know, where there's a certain amount of like, you know, you got your 40, 50 days of shooting and certain production, and it really varies. But like people will tell you now, like it's very, very difficult to make a movie for less than $25 million, right?
Yeah.
And 25, and it can go up very quickly as soon as you got a big stunt unit or big action stuff or visual effects. And here's the thing with theatrical, which is why it's very hard. Like you spend about the same amount that you spend on the movie to advertise the movie. So if you spend $25 million to make the movie, you $25 million to advertise the movie. So now you got $50 million into the movie, and from the movie theaters you get back roughly 50%. So if a movie makes $100 million, you get back $50 million. So if you get back $50 million, that's you $25 million movie got to gross $100 million, just in simple math. And there is a tail, and there are secondary revenue streams, but
So you have to make so much money off of a movie. You have to gross so much money in order to just break even. He's talking like you got to make like $50 million just to break even. So that's crazy, man.
that's one of the things that has made it really hard to get theatrical. That and the fact that people now go, this movie looks good, but I'll see it when it comes on streaming. And so
And see, that's the other thing. The main reason why films were able to make so much money back in the days because we loved the movie theater. We didn't have Netflix and Hulu and all the streaming services yet, so you had to get your ass up and go to the theater if you wanted to watch a good movie, right? But now everybody knows it's like ingrained in our heads when like a new movie is coming out. If you aren't going to see it like very, very intentionally, like if you weren't purposely waiting for this movie to come out, you bought your tickets early, then more than likely you're gonna skip the theater run of it, and you're just gonna wait until it comes to streaming services. That's what it boils down to, and that really, really hurts the amount of profit that these movies can make because they made a lot of their profit off of the actual tickets. And then on top of that, a lot of them made their money off of merch as well. And not every movie has merch. So if you're just relying on movie tickets when people know that your movie is going to come to streaming in the next 60 days, more than likely, good luck.
those two factors are really what's caused, why you see mostly the movies that come out in theaters are, Avengers and or Avatar or whatever it is, and a movie with that Ryan Coogler, who's a huge commercial director, and Michael B. Jordan, who's a huge movie star. That's considered kind of a risk because it's not like a sequel,
right?
And even that comes out and blows up and it's a big hit. Now, they'll make Sinners 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but to do something original, that's really where those guys had to go out and really kind of use all their credibility and cachet to convince people to do that movie.
Yeah, interesting stuff there from Ben Affleck. I mean, he literally breaks it down like so well on why Hollywood really is dying now. I wish they would have gotten into what can be done about it. I think that the only thing that can be done is like us as consumers, we have to take risks. We have to take risks on some movies that come to the theater that aren't sequels, that aren't like big box franchises. You know what I mean? Like if you do see a movie in theaters that wasn't like a sequel or it doesn't have like a long track record and have already established equity, go see the movie, right? I think that a lot of people back in the day, they used to do it was a thing where you used to do like a bad movie night where you would purposely go watch a movie that you didn't necessarily think was going to be good, but you're just going to see if it was entertaining anyway, right? If people kind of reestablish that sort of culture, that cultural activity, then that could potentially save movie theaters and in turn save movies. Because right now we get a lot of low budget slop, is what it feels like. A lot of low budget slop. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. I hate it actually. But would love to know what you guys think about that. If you're watching the replay of it, make sure you leave down below in the comment section what you think. Do you think that Hollywood is dying? If so, why? Do you agree with Ben Affleck here? What do you think can be done to fix it? I talked about Netflix movie theaters a couple of weeks ago on the pod, and I think that could be an avenue as well. You would just have to have directors and producers working exclusively with Netflix, and honestly, the other streaming services could take it on too. You could have a Netflix theater or a Hulu house or something like that, things like that, somewhere where they stream like big Peacock movies or something. Just get people out of the house and into the theaters, buying a ticket to go to the theaters and have an experience. Traditional movie theaters might be cooked, but movie theaters that are branded by streaming services might be the future and the only way to really save Hollywood. To me, to me. All right, moving right along here. What else we got? What else we got? Um, so I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we had an episode where we talked about Kai Cenat. You guys know the streamer, Twitch streamer, and I talked about him taking a step back from streaming because he said that he was dealing with like some mental health issues and whatnot. And we looked into both sides of that argument. Like, okay, he has mental health issues, but X, right? Like, but he's a multimillionaire and he's living a lavish lifestyle and things like that. And in this video here that I have not seen yet, I think he's talking to his mom about how he feels because apparently now he's trying to start a clothing line. But let's listen to what he had to say.
I know it at times. Usually I'm able to handle a lot of stuff by myself and find ways through it. But I just needed some advice on just pursuing life and goals that I have to like how to find the confidence and the real commitment to pursue them. Because usually at the times I've achieved so much and I've been able to knock down goals I always wanted to do, and my mindset in my head, it's just like a lot of self-doubt. I'm not even depressed. I'm not sad. It's just for some reason I'm having like a lot of self-doubt because it's out of fear of stepping back from what I'm primarily known for, which is content creation, and pursuing another goal. One thing I wanted to ask you is like, how do you at times get over self-doubt or voices in your head saying that it's over, or voices in your head saying you might not be able to do it?
Well, first things first, you cannot let your mental take over. Some people are strong, some people are weak. When the voices in your head start coming, it's pushing you either to give up or keep going.
So let me say this about Kai Cenat because I was a little critical of him, a couple of weeks ago, but I understand him saying that, his mental state was in a place where, he didn't want it to be, because he's saying here that he has a fear of stepping away from streaming, which is what he's primarily known for, and stepping into the fashion industry and creating his own clothing line. I think it starts with a V or something. I can't remember the name. And I guess he's having some sort of like imposter syndrome, thinking like he can't accomplish that. But I would want him to know that, this kid is blessed beyond measure. He is. He is. I mean, he's making hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's done that by literally sitting in his bedroom or wherever, or sitting in his house and talking to a camera with thousands of people watching at a time. It's impressive. It can also be mentally exhausting. I mean, I do something similar on a much, much smaller scale, obviously. And sometimes I'm on stream for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours a day, sometimes 5 hours a day. And by the time I hit the bed, I hit the hay for the night, I'm exhausted, right? And sometimes I'm mentally drained. So I can only imagine how like kind of overstimulated he can get by being on stream for so long. He's been streaming for years now, and he's been doing it damn near like every day, I'm pretty sure. I've never personally watched one of his streams, but I've seen like clips of it like online here and there floating around. But I know that's exhausting. It's very mentally taxing. So I'll say that. But I think this kid can do whatever the hell he wants to do. I really don't quite understand why he doesn't feel like he'll be received the same way. Maybe it's because he's seen people, peers in his space and whatnot. And like, I think people like around his generation, around his age, that kind of like grow up in this kind of like social media culture of like, once you're a clown, you're a clown, right? And I feel like him thinking that when he steps over to fashion and away from streaming, people are going to think he's a clown and they're not going to take him seriously and he's going to fall off. It's probably the fear of the fall off, to be honest with you. That's all this really is. It's the fear of the fall off. You know, because what happens if he goes and, you know, he quits streaming like he said he does, like he said he did. He goes over, tries to make clothes, and what if that just falls flat on his face? Nobody's messing with it, nobody's buying it. Then he tries to come back to streaming, and the audience isn't the same anymore. People already say, "Oh, nope, wrote you off. You're corny. We got this new kid on the block now." I think that he just doesn't want to lose his spot. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to desperately go out and branch out and do other things, but he doesn't want to lose his spot. You know, because when you start in a new industry like the fashion industry, you got to work your way up again. Now, he's already got the cachet and the notoriety to get into spaces that most 99.99999% of other people who start clothing lines have. He has way more resources at his fingertips. So it's like, as long as he has drive, which I know he does, he should be able to pull this off. That's what I think. I think this kid is blessed beyond measure. I love that he's talking to his mom and seeking advice and wisdom from her in this. And I know this clip is cut off, and I'm sure she said some more really good things. But hey, man, I mean, I'm rooting for Kai. I'm rooting for Kai. I am. I'm rooting for him. But yeah, that is that. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. So, again, this has been the first exclusively streamed episode of Sutton Reactions on the Sutton Reactions YouTube channel. Again, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who came in and rocked out with us on this episode of the show. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And of course, you know, me and Alex will be live later today on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. We have to get Alex's reaction to Steve Bisciotti's press conference and some more things as well. The Harbaugh hiring in New York, that and so much more on today's episode of PRP. So make sure you get over to PRP for that. But until then, again, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Stretch 52, before I get out of here really quick, says, what did you think of the new Cole track? You know, Stretch, I saw you sent that to me, and I was gonna play it on the stream, but I would get copyrighted like immediately if I did that. But from what I heard, because I didn't listen to the whole thing, from what I heard, it did sound like Common Cole, right? It sounded like typical J. Cole, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna save it. I low-key want to wait until the album comes out to just try to listen to it all the way through. But I hope he gets a little bit innovative. I hope he gets a little bit innovative on this one. I hope the same thing for Drake too. I hope the same thing for Drake. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the new album. Absolutely am. But yeah, I'll leave that there. Appreciate you guys again. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.